All right, well, welcome back. I'm the APDM, and I am excited for another magazine haul. I've gotten a few more in, and today we're going to keep going along some of the older ones that I've gotten. So one of the things I'm really excited about is some of like the sub 100 ones as we're working our way up. But today's is going to be a really cool one. One of the earlier ones. This one's going to be number 61. And I wanted to keep experimenting with how I was showcasing these guys. And so still wanted to push the Apple Vision Pro kind of virtual reality way to do it. Because again, I want you to kind of see what I'm seeing as I'm looking through them. But we're going to try and use a digital version as well. And I'll show the actual one. But my goal is only to show the ones that I've gotten physical copies of, so we can kind of do both together. And then the other thing that I thought was really cool, because we can all vibe code these days, thanks to AI, is I made like a kind of cool visual tracker to show how many of these ones I've started to collect and get, and you can see all the ones in red are the ones I've gotten. So really excited to go through them, and this little design will hopefully help us bring up some of the cool things about that magazine as well, like what year it came out, any cool like call outs on the cover, etc. So today, the next one that I've been able to kind of have in this place is number 61. And this one is really cool. One of the first covers to be a full page cover, which is rad. And this one's by Jim Rosloff. So I don't know, I don't think I've heard of Jim Rosloff before. So let's see if we can figure out a little bit about him and see what Jim is about. Because I don't know. Rosloff? Rosloff. D&D art. Let's see. Oh yeah, man, these rats definitely prolific. I'm trying to see if there's any that. Oh yeah, this is from one of the Keep on the Borderlands ones. So, I mean, he's been doing this stuff for a while. Yeah, here's that cover. I was glad I called this one out before seeing it. I did not see this one first, so definitely one of the introductory artists for D&D, so rad to see his stuff on there. That's super cool. All right, well, let's set this one aside and start looking at this magazine and show you a little bit of what we've got. Again, let's start by taking a quick look at like the actual magazine itself. So like I said, goal is to only show you the ones that I've been able to physically collect. At least for now. I don't know. We'll see how it gets when we get to like some of the really low level ones. Like finding number one is going to cost me like $2,000. So we might just have to rely on digital medium for that, depending on how much of these I do. But this one's really cool. Like you see that Rosloff cover. It's really, really nice. This magazine's a little bit rough, so I got to treat it kind of good. You can see the binding got taped up, trying to get that held in place. But the back ad also, as usual, full cover. And this one's pretty cool because I've seen some of these Grenadier miniatures online. And you can actually get them for not too bad. But, man, like, imagine being 12 years old when this came out and just, like, stoked to want to get this freaking sick dragon and some of these other creatures that are in there. Some really cool ones. And, again, we'll go through this more digitally, but just to flip through some of the interior stuff. Still got that awesome comic. Some really cool things. As I was flipping through it, one of the things that I saw is it's got these inserts that I'm not sure what they're for. It's like it's like a bestiary one, so I'm excited when we get there. But these are different sets, so maybe if I flip through a couple of ones. Oh yeah, these are monster cards. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons monster cards. Monster cards combine full color illustrations with fortress jets. So I bet you. Oh yeah, so these are just like demos of them, but they're not the full size. That's there. Yeah, the bestiaries are still cool. So really exciting ones as I'm flipping through this. I think we'll see some cool stuff. Oh, you're getting some more like full ad design art as we get into these. Awesome, definitely has a quest. Rad. All right, well, let's start flipping through the digital version and see some cool things. If anything stands out in the digital version that seems really cool, you want to check out in physical space, we'll do that as well. So let's see. There's the Cover up close, nice and up close and personal. I mean, it's just a really cool cover. It's like a sorcerer shining some light in there. I wonder if we can find out exactly what that cover actually is. Let's see if we can find out if it says what it is. Jim Warsoff, D&D, Dragon Magazine, cover 61. See if we can figure out what it's supposed to be. What is it? Fantasy. Oh, wow, that's a good correction. So this is actually by Susan Collins. It's a different artist. See, this is why you can't trust AI. You gotta double check stuff. Good to know. So this is a Susan Collins piece. Let's see if we can actually find out. Susan Collins. A fire mage. Nice. Casting fire spells. Very cool. Yeah. Alright, let's see what other things Susan Collins has done, because I don't... That name sounds super familiar. Let's see. Susan Collins. D&D art. Let's see if I recognize any that stand out. I feel like there's another Susan Collins coming up. Let's see. Vintage. Let's see what comes up here. She did some of these older ones, which is super cool. I don't see a ton of other stuff though. So if anyone knows other art that Susan has done, Miss Collins has done, please send it our way. It's pretty rad. Cool. Ad for some video games. That one's pretty cool. This one's 1982, so definitely the right time for video games to exist. Unarmed combat. Oh, man. How hard must it have been to like have to put money in an envelope and hope for the best? I guess it's not that much different than Kickstarter, but at least you've got a better paper trail, you know? Yeah, there it is. I should have checked the inside page. It would have told us right away. So Susan Collins, definitely the person there. I'm going to have to check what got made on our little helper here, because that is not correct. I don't see Jim Rosloff anywhere in this. So, tisk Claude Code. Definitely need to fact check that. Cover to cover. Oh, yeah, that's right. So I got to remember to do this. If there is a cover to cover at the start of the magazine, I think it's got to tell you what the cover's about. So, don't let the guy on the cover, that dude, give you too much heat, which is funny because he's a fire mage, as we learned earlier. He just does this sort of thing on weekends to pick up a little extra money. The real wizards are the writers and artists who filled up the inside of this magazine, from EGG to Tramp and everyone in between. The cover painting is the creation of Susan Collins. I'm glad we corrected that. Sorry, Susan. Deepest apologies. She also did number 51. So whenever we get 51 on here, we'll make sure Susan gets another call. The center 12 pages of this month's issue is taken up by Quest for Midas Orb, an adventure created by Jenny Good, which was good enough to win third place in the AD&D section of the International Dungeon Design Contest. I'm not sure what the cough was for. Are they praising her or chastising her? In the leadoff position, following 2 pages of Out on a Limb, letters in the third and last installment of Cantrips, brought to you by the Sorcerer's Scroll by E. Gary Gygax, the one and only. The morsels of magic for illusionists are, like other magic users, cantrips that preceded them, slated for inclusion in an upcoming official volume of new AD&D rules. Ooh, second edition, hinted at already. And as the sorcerer himself is wont to say, you gentle readers saw it here first. We've looked at combat from one extreme to the other in the form of a couple of related articles by Phil Myers and Rory. I'll move this up just a bit, I think. We'll make that easier. Where did we go? Oop, we shot ahead. Oh, we shot way ahead. Sorry, I hit a button. This is why you shouldn't be hitting buttons. Stop hitting buttons. All right. Where did we go? We've looked at combat from one extreme to the other, yada yada. We already do that. Notice we said new, not necessarily simpler. I don't think that's a good sign, TSR. If there's a way to beat somebody up and keep it simple, we'd like to know about it. The second piece is something a lot of you have asked for, and we hope it fills the bill. Statistics and descriptions for about 36 weird weapons, and an official expansion on the list in the AD&D Player's Handbook. Gnomes are the next object of scrutiny and contributing editor Roger Moore's series in the articles on the humanoid races and their deities. The gnomish point of view draws some clear distinctions between gnomes and their cousins, the dwarves, and the gods of the gnomes drives the point home even more firmly. The next time your group wants to play Cowboys and Indians, send in the little people of the Iroquois portrayed in Conrad Freilich's article. Yeah, again, some of these are probably just going to be just dramatic, like problematic. Gary Godex does a top secret bit. That's cool. Dragon's Augury review section this month showcases 2 games that at first glance seem to have nothing in common. But on second thought, wouldn't De Fuhrer have made a terrific Lovecraft monster? I mean, that's a good call out, so I'm excited to get to that article. What else is on here? Barehanded Combat call out on page 14. New AD&D Aid monster cards. Yeah, that's what I was talking about from the physical version that we saw, so we should go to that one as well. Some out of the limb letters. And then the latest from literature. And then, of course, the Wormy comic at the end. Let's keep going. And I think what's cool about this, too, is we can switch the view up a bit. See if we can see everything on here as we go through. And you'll have to tell me, y'all, if you want me to just flip through or if you want me to pause on certain bits, but see this now. You can see them. Cantrips for the aspiring illusionist. Here's a Gary Gygax special. Gotta always love a Gary Gygax special. That's always great. By the time I assume that most of you gentle readers who were devoted to AD&D gaming sufficiently to labor through the last 2 columns, I will begin employing cantrips in your respective campaigns. This is where I think Gary, R.I.P., just gets a little heady in what he writes. And I noticed this all throughout, like, the initial AD&D or Dungeons & Dragons rule sets and the AD&D, of course. It's just like, read this sentence as a normal person. Gaming sufficiently to labor through the last 2 columns will have begun employing cantrips. Like, we don't have to sound like an Elizabethan poet every time we write, Gary. And now I know it means a lot, but this is why we changed to more accessible language as we get into the late 80s. If the results are like that experienced in my own Greyhawk campaign, there will be considerable zest added, for low-level magic users are now more than one-shot lurkers in the nethermost regions of the party, and an initial attack spell roll with questionable punch no longer needs spell trouble for the Prestidigitator, since 4 of the best cantrips can be substituted for the first-level bummer. It's also pure AD&D gaming too, for the cantrips and rules for their employment will become part of the system, much as they appeared here within a year or 2. Meanwhile, Faithful Reader, you are now different from Gentle Reader, both of which capitalize, so I feel like you're talking about somebody else at this point, and now have the edge on all those imprudent enough to not to acquire Dragon Magazine on a regular basis. Basically, buy this stuff so you can get more of these cantrips. Let's see. With magic users seen to, it is time to take up the cause of their more specialized cousins, illusionists. This subclass is not too popular in most campaigns, but that will change some when the game system expansion is published. That volume will have many new highly useful spells for illusionists. Great. Very cool stuff. Let's see. Some minor illusions in here. Weird 3-column spread they started doing on this. This must have been across a couple different ones. Haze. When a haze cantrip is cast, the atmosphere in the desired area of effect becomes cloudy, as if layered by smoke. Mask. A mask cantrip enables the caster to alter his or her visage, or the visage of whatever subject individual he or she chooses by means of illusion. Mirage. I mean, I feel like mask is a lot of alter self, but it gets you to do it to somebody else. That's kind of clever. Similar things you would expect from most illusionists. No. What does rainbow do? This one seems higher level. By means of the cantrip, the caster brings into being a plane of pastel colors which exactly duplicates a rainbow. He or she can cause this 30-foot long, 1-foot wide band of color to arch into a boat shape, remain a ribbon, twist, and turn. In any event, one end of the rainbow must be within 1 inch of the caster. When the cantrip is cast, the colors will glow softly and be visible even in total darkness. If no motion is desired, the caster may leave the vicinity of the rainbow. It's a rainbow! To delusion. Lots of wordplay on this one. This cantrip is virtually the same as Phantasmal Forces spell in most respects. The caster creates a 2-dimensional illusion of whatever he or she desires. If any viewer observe it from an angle more than 45 degrees. Sorry, y'all, it's late. The illusion is invisible from side of the rear. It lasts as long as the caster concentrates upon it. Interesting that they would make some of these cantrips. Gotta love a good ad for Gen Con. You know, one of these days I'm gonna get there. Now this is cool. I didn't know this because I didn't see this in the last one. But White Dwarf became its own magazine later on, right? Like, hold on. I'm pretty sure. What is White? It was like Games Workshop magazine. I saw it. Spelled correctly, Nate. Let's start there. White Dwarf is the official monthly magazine published by Games Workshop. Yeah, dedicated entirely to the Warhammer tabletop. So, interesting. I guess it started as part of this best magazine in fantasy and sci-fi gaming direct from England. So, interesting they would publish kind of a competitor's magazine ad, but I guess, you know, ad buys are ad buys. Interesting stuff. Giants in the Earth. Classic heroes from fiction and literature. Deucalion belonged to the priest clan of Atlantis in the years just before the continent sank beneath the waves. He left his home to serve as the viceroy of Yucatan, an Atlantean province, for 20 years until his recall. Upon his arrival back in Atlantis, he found the continent torn by civil strife. A commoner had proclaimed herself Queen of Atlantis, defeated all rivals or cowed them into submission, and was rapidly setting herself up for godhood and absolute control of the world. Oh, so this is like a story plus some additional benefit. That's a good way to wrap that up, I think, right? You get some new cleric spells, which is pretty rad. 10th level cleric, 18th level spider, like 18th level fighter. Y'all, it is late today. So this must have been different multi-classing rules because 10th. So what they're doing on this, which is kind of a cool concept, right? They're talking a little player profile that Roger E. Moore made, which is pretty rad. But 10th level cleric and an 18th level fighter. In today's world, that would not exist. So this must be something separate. Or the way they must have done multi-classing then must have been very different. Because that should cap out at 20. I also want to see, what page is this on? 13-ish. I want to see if I want to see if the art is a little bit easier to read in the physical version, or if it's just as dark. 13, somewhere in here. You know, because scanning is hard. Sometimes it doesn't come out quite the same way. No, they're about just as dark, so I don't feel too bad showing you the digital version. I think it might still be a little easier to read. Alright, let's put that one back down. I'm trying not to break this cover any more than it is. Cool writer, though. Oh, I see. It's a few different ones. Okay, so this first one is Deucalion. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that, Roger. Apologies if I'm not. And this next one is Taro Kabo. And he is just a 20th level fighter. And looks like some kind of Griffin rider, which is pretty sick. And Dosuye, 7th level ranger with assassin abilities. Gotta love that. Yeah, I love the little like artwork they did for him too. Now, here's the thing that I looked at last time, which I thought was rad. I want to see, now that I've got like an internet browser next to me, I want to see if we can find what this thing worked like. So hold on. Rag & Bone vintage electronic dice. Right? Yeah, let's see what that is. How did it work? Look at this thing. Oh, so you pushed a button and it would go through. I don't know, is there a video I can see real quick? It
brings back so many wonderful memories. I don't play any.
Yeah, I want to find it.
Man, those summers in the earth.
Alright, skip ahead. I agree. So this thing is chunky.
Painted this one. You know, the paint job's not as good as you'll probably do, but it works. I'll share all those files with you so you can.
Oh, I think he made this one. Oh man, that might be a cool. That might be a cool project because we make one.
So let me explain to you how it works. When you turn it on, first thing it does is it creates a soft access point so that you can connect to it with your phone. 80s, making it better.
Let's see if we can get like one. It's pretty cool though. And maybe that'll be another 3D project for me in the future. If you guys want to see that, let me know. But maybe I make my own Dragon Bone. I don't know. I just think that's rad. Let's see. A little fantasy game. Dungeon Design Contest. Boardcraft Simulations Inc. is now accepting entries for its Fantasy Path Dungeon Design Contest. Entrants following the rules listed below will compete for prizes including Fantasy Path sets and subscriptions to Dragon Magazine. I mean, I would have played for a subscription to Dragon Magazine. The dungeon design will consist of no more than 25 rooms and or hallways. All entries must be accompanied by a typed introduction. All rooms and hallways used in the dungeon design must conform entirely to those available in any of the 3 set of Fantasy Pass products. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was like that little game aid that gave you like pre-cut dungeon pieces, which is a smart way to do it. Yeah. If you win, you get all 3 Fantasy Pass products and a 1-year subscription to Dragon Magazine. # worth it. Runner-ups will get the Fantasy Pass products and a subscription. Very cool. I mean, just, man, these are the moments where I really gotta, like, participate more. If I was 13 or so and this was the thing, I would love to participate. Without any weapons. Oh, these are the barehanded rolled ones. Kind of love the split design, too, between these pages. That's rad. Great artwork. Suggested new rules for using your bare hands. Let's go. Funnily enough, I think this fighter on the right looks a little bit like me. I do kind of fight like that, too. He's got my feet. All right, weaponless combat is a part of the advanced D&D game in the form of a system for grappling, pummeling, and overbearing attacks presented in the Dungeon Master's Guide at pages 72 and 73. Although the AD&D weapon combat system is unrealistic in that it does not account for critical hits or hit location, it is streamlined enough to allow melees, particularly large ones, to be resolved in reasonable amounts of time. By contrast, the weaponless combat system in the DMG attempts to take into account... Pause for just one quick moment. That's the first time I've actually seen it condensed to DMG, so maybe that's one of the first times we start seeing it made into an acronym that way. Perhaps the most extreme example of this is that both the attackers and defenders' weight and height must be known and compared in order to resolve a grappling attack. The DMG system is also designed only for humanoid combatants. It does not allow for grappling or pummeling between monsters or between human and monsters without considerable modification by the DM. So that's an interesting call out too. Like, this is where, again, like old school D&D made you really think. Like, take this sentence again. So perhaps the most extreme example of this is that both the attackers and defenders' weight and height must be known and compared in order to resolve a grappling attack. That's bonkers. Like, now it's just a check roll. And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit silly and it gets you into moments where like a fairy can grapple a human, but you gotta kind of think through how the game is played and less about what would actually happen. The weaponless combat system presented in this article represents a compromise between realism and playability. Great, love that. It is not as simple as the normal AD&D melee system, mainly because weaponless combat is not as simple as normal combat as far as the AD&D structure is concerned. Much of the complexity of the system stems from the portions of the system designed to handle monsters in addition to humanoids. So much system. In order to keep the rules compact for future reference, the discussion of the system will be presented after the rules. Sorry guys, I keep hitting this mic, I know. The following terms are used as abbreviations with the text. AT is the attacker, DR is the defender, SMLVL, size designations for small, medium, large, and very large. Pummeling. Pummeling is defined here as an attack with fists or comparable limbs, or an attack with any special pummeling weapons calculated to stun or render the opponent. Oh, atlatls. Interesting that would be a melee weapon. Or, sorry, not a melee weapon, but a pummeling weapon. Oh, I see. This is the other thing about old magazines. I don't know why they did this way. So you can see you got to jump all the way to page 63 to get what you want. But if we look at the full map, like, why wouldn't they keep them together? They easily could have. So you'd have to get all the way down here somewhere to finish what you were reading about. So this is old magazine design that I don't understand. It's like they wanted to keep these two things together. So with or without weapons, or with a weird one. Which is a funny thing. I guess I understand that, but I feel like what I would have done is I would have combined this into like a 4-page spread and then combined all the body into like one article with some art in between. But let's see some of these weird weapons that you're talking about. Atlatl, definitely pretty cool. Bognock, made up of 4 or 5 iron spike-like claws attached to an iron crossbar which extends around the wielder's hand when worn. I don't know what that is. I'll have to see if they have pictures of it in here. Weapon charts, gotta love charts. Cool ad for Bushido, an old role-playing game. I love that they have a blackjack. I mean, I think we would just make that an improvised weapon, right? Blowgun, bola, boomerang. See, and this is where it gets confusing too. Like, they kept all the weapon ones together. Why would they break up the first article? Oh, that's what a bognock is. There you go. Interesting. Bullwhip, caltrops, chakram, docus. This is probably pretty handy. I bet you could do something like this. Like, let's see what their thing is for a guitar, which is like a punching weapon. The guitar is a triangular blade ground to an edge on either side and attached to an H-shaped handle, often referred to as a punch dagger. This guitar is held in the clenched fist and used much as a normal fist would be, with the blade pointed away from the user's knuckles. The guitar is used to stab or slash, a blow which carries considerable power when its direct stabbing abilities are taken into account. That makes sense. The guitar's great speed is because of the quickness involved in its simple deployment as an extension of the fist. It's also very easy to learn to use. Although there is no formal sheet for the guitar, a large belt path lined with light wood to prevent puncturing would easily hold the weapons. Do they have that one in the thing? I'm wondering what the damage output is. Oh, and they do adjustments. You can add more to it. Interesting. Interesting they have the garrote as a fighting weapon. And they wrote a lot about it. Look at this. What's it? The garrote is typically a braided leather thong with hand grips on either ends of its 4-foot-long cord and is used to throttle an opponent from behind. Some versions of the garrote use piano wire instead of the leather cord described here, but in the usual AD&D campaign wire, that sort of wire is not strong enough or flexible enough for use in a garrote. Loose strings are made out of catgut or some equally unsatisfactory material for the information of players who try to argue the point. Love that they are always dealing with rules lawyers. To successfully attach a garrote requires a backstab attack to be made during the first round of combat, and damage is taken for each following round. The garrote remains attached and held by the wielder around the victim's throat. So it's like you can only use this if you do something else. But at that point, like, if I'm a player, am I going to use the garrote? Or am I just going to keep trying to stab this thing? I don't know. Interesting stuff. I do like the creativity, though. It's pretty clever. Yeah. Here's the thing, too, that I love about this time period. Like, I just feel like because it was in, like, some of these cool media things, like cool old TV shows and cool old kung fu movies, like, people wanted to use them more, right? The inspiration they saw made them like, I want to play that with that weapon on my character. Cool things, though. Throwing nets. Very gladiatorial. 3-section staff. Yeah, very kung fu on that one. The Mesoamerican inspiration is also kind of cool at this point, too. Lacochitli. Good stuff. What is this an ad for? Enter the intriguing world of wizardry and dragons with this enchanting fantasy card game. Race against your opponents in an attempt to be the first wizard to conjure a complete dragon. But be careful, your opponents may try to curse your dragon, causing it to fork into 2 or more pieces. Just when you think you have the game won, there are treasures to be pilfered, knights in shining armor to be slain, and beautiful damsels in distress to be rescued. So it's like a dragon building game, looks like. Neat. Gotta love these Rail Paltha ads. The Elf Chariot is just the beginning. Listed below are our newest fantasy releases. We also have new releases in our Hoplite and 1200 AD historical lines. For our new 1982 catalog and a complete new release sheet, send $2 to Rail Partha. See for yourself why at Rail Partha the fantasy keeps getting more fantastic. Pretty cool chariot, though. Good stuff. And this is the big one from Roger Moore. Let's see how much of this we can read, because some of this is pretty interesting. The gnomish point of view. I like this art. It's very fun. If you were into gnomes, like, this is the one to read. Gnomes are small demi-humans closely related to dwarves. They average about 3'6" in height and around 80 pounds. Their skin tones range from brown to dark tan to grayish brown, and they have gray or white hair. Gnomish males are bearded, but females are not. Despite their small size, gnomes have an average strength equal to most humans. Though most people tend to think of gnomes as just smaller dwarves, they have different capabilities and a much different outlook on life, and are certainly worthy of consideration as a race unto themselves. So I gotta see if in AD&D gnomes were in the player's handbook. My guess is no, and they added them. AD&D. No. Playable? Question mark? Sorry, I don't know why my shift key's not working. Gnomes are indeed an official playable character race, first introduced in the 1978 Player's Handbook. So they were. Probably just trying to do some PR because nobody played them. Gnomish communities are composed of elaborate underground tunnel complexes, much like those dwarves inhabit, and all such communities maintain a network of mines for metals and gemstones. However, gnomish complexes do not go as deep as the earth as dwarven tunnel systems do, and tend to be spread out over a wider area. Let's see. Humor is very important to the gnomish personality. Gnomes go for practical jokes, especially the sorts that are directed against larger creatures and enemies. When directed against other gnomes, these jokes tend to be friendly with no harm intended. But against humans and other large races, including humanoids, gnomes' humor is more of a weapon and takes on a darker aspect. This is where I think that's where gnomes are truly, really fun. You can mess around with gnomes and do some fun things. A good practical joke played on an enemy, like substituting a necklace of strangulation for a necklace of missiles in a half-orc's pocket, will win immense status for the responsible gnome. I think a party of all gnomes who are consistently trying to outprank each other would be a fun game. That'd be entertaining. Those who gnomes do not trust are dealt with carefully. They might find themselves perplexed, led around in circles, and kept unsure of just what is going on. The gnomish brand of humor is demoralizing to enemies of the gnomes, who may find themselves constantly subject to booby traps of every conceivable sort. Yeah. The lawful good orientation of most gnomes comes from the sense of community spirit and cooperation with one another and other allied beings. This is muted to some extent by more neutral, nature-loving concern that includes a tolerance for other alignments and their desires. Here's the bit about kobolds. So at least we know that kobold and gnome hate has gone over for a while. Gnomes are rarely on good terms with any evil humanoid race, but their most hated enemies are the kobolds. Both races compete for the same sort of living space and materials, and their deities have long warred with one another. Garl Glittergold, the major gnomish god, once caused Kurtulmak's, I'm going to try that one again, Kurtulmak's most elaborate and richly decorated throne room to develop a structural defect in the ceiling, making it collapse at an untimely moment when the kobold god was entertaining one of the major archdevils. The latter believed the ceiling collapse was an assassination attempt, and in vengeance hung Kurtulmak by his tail over an active volcano for over 6 weeks. Nice. Goblins also hate gnomes, though not with the single line of fury that kobolds have for them. Gnomes, in turn, hate these races to the point where they will attack them in preference to any other race of enemies and gain a bonus to hit them as well. This is definitely not something you could do today, is all I'm saying. Because here's the thing. If you had some kind of like race-based against race bonus, that is grounds for like RPG racism. And that's probably not gonna work. Like when you're just trying to play the game and have fun, you don't need this much problematic overtones put in. Oh, that's funny though. Let's see. The physical senses of gnomes are very well developed. Eyesight is good. It includes infravision out to 60 feet. Gnomes have the most sensitive hearing of any demi-human race, and their communities are usually quiet compared to those of other races as well. Which seems weird because in today's it's all about like gnomes as like tinkerers and artificers. So there's building and banging going all the time in gnomes today. Gnomes also have a more highly developed sense of taste and smell than any other race, and have larger noses than some people find quite amusing. I do. I like that large gnomish nose. I think that's what sells their person. Gnomes go adventuring for various reasons. Many such adventurers are multi-classed. Gnomes are able to learn the skills of a fighter, thief, illusionist, and assassin are better able to mix classes than either dwarves or halflings. Gnomish thieves and illusionists, for obvious reasons, are especially able to use their talents to pull jokes on other beings. The feelings that gnomes have been slighted by many other races without cause. A claim not without substantial evidence. Makes the fighting and thieving lives most attractive, as a way of evening up the imbalance. Assassins are motivated by a similar get-em-back philosophy and enjoy taking vengeance on their enemies with macabre humor. Very fun. Let's see. As a race, gnomes are quite adaptable. They do not particularly like the sea or other large bodies of water. They are more willing than dwarves to live in such areas. That seems fair. The gods of the gnomes. Roger wrote a lot for this one. That's like 4 articles so far. Alrighty, the demi-human pantheon with the fewest members is likely that of the gnomes. Interesting. By most counts, there are only 6 or 7 deities governing the gnomish folk, though it is possible there are more in other universes. All gnomish gods, with the exception of Erdlin, the crawler, are ruled by Garl Glittergoad. See deities and demigods, that's a good one. All but one of them live on one of the planes of the Twin Paradises in the area called the Golden Hills, where the souls of faithful gnomes go at death. The exception is, as before, Erdlin, who lives in the abyss. Gnomish deities are fully concerned with the fate of the gnomish race and go adventuring quite often to support their causes and keep enemies from overwhelming the gnomes. Let's see what they talk about with these ones. Clerical quick reference chart. So if you're a gnome cleric, these ones might be pretty cool. Bervin, Adventure and Thieves. Erdlin, Evil. I'm interested in that one. I didn't know there were any evil gnomish ones, but I guess that makes sense. Segojan, Flandel, metalworking. Gnomish clerics are never druidical, regardless of the alignment. They tend to work through indirect channels to support the cause of gnomes and will only rarely bring their business into the open. They are not often found as community leaders, mayors, or such because of their supportive orientation. Gnomish clerics are all male, just as their deities are considered to be. Interesting. Garl Glittergoad's closest rival in the field of good-natured mischief is Bervan Wild Wanderer, the forest gnome. While he lacks Garl's finesse and dedication, Bervan is slightly better in the practice of his thieving skills. He dresses in clothes of wood-brown hues and carries a spear made from an ancient oak tree on the Twin Paradises called Whisperleaf. That might be a fun magic item you can give. Segojan Earthcaller is the gnomish deity of the earth and nature and friend to all living animals that move above and below the earth, and one who speaks with the very rock itself. He is known to his worshippers as a gray-skinned gnome who wears armor made of grass and roots that acts as a +4 leather armor. When he enters battle, he carries a rod made of crystalline quartz that is +4 to hit. That might be a cool quest too for like Snarf Nifblin, the gray gnomes. The Underdark gnomes? Maybe they have to get after, maybe they have to do something to help Segojan Earthcaller. Erdlin, the crawler below. Erdlin is the epitome of the evil impulse that rules some gnomes and is feared by the rest. He appears as a huge, dead white, furless mole with claws of steel. It is said that Erdlin, a neuter and sexless being, lusts for precious metals, jewels, and the blood of any human, humanoid, or demi-human. Dark. Flandel Steelskin. Flandel wears only a leather apron for armor and protection for fire, but it has been enchanted to reduce by half all damage he receives from heat and fire. Flandel is one of the strongest gnomish deities, perhaps the most so. He is often found traveling with one or two other gnomish deities in search of new ores and veins of metal to use in his forges. It was Flandel who helped forge and enchant Arundina, Garl Glittergoad's battle axe. I think that'd be kind of a cool story. So imagine this. So take God of War, but make it all gnomes. That is a great mini campaign, is all I'm saying. I would watch that. And here's your whole pantheon. Your gnome has to get after them. Maybe he was sent on a quest to go do something by Garl, and then he finds out that all these folks have gone crazy, and he has to kill them all. or like fight them in like these crazy battles. That might be a fun campaign idea, is all I'm saying. Cool ad for Gen Con. Wait, this one was 1982, right? Yeah, 82. June 17th to 20th. Still going strong. This was the highlighted adventure, the quest for the Midas Orb. Cool artwork to start off with. I'm getting like DM screen vibes from this walk-up, though. It's pretty cool. Solid map. Looks like a 1820 room map somewhere in there. Maybe just read about the Midas Orb. The Midas Orb is a beloved relic of Anarda, but it has been rarely used. The economic well-being of the country does not depend on the presence of the relic. However, the morale of the people does. The people's morale in turn affects the country's economy. The legends of the Midas Orb are sketchy. The people have some idea of how it works, but they are not aware of its specific limitations or power. It is generally regarded by the people as being too awesome or powerful to be seen or touched by normal people. Indeed, this is essentially true. I'm guessing it was stolen. Change the sex of the person drinking. Oh, this is funny. Okay. So apparently there's a potion that will give you a sex change. I'm sure the boys at the table found that very funny. Cool double page art again, too. This is a solid one. Another bottom level map. A little more organic on this one. What is this? A Silver Dawn. Would you ever dream of slyly searching for clues of treasure? Of saving beautiful maidens? It's funny how much this was like pointed at little boys. Of slaying fierce monsters. Of having the time of your life. Silver Dawn is the ultimate play-by-mail fantasy campaign. Having already received an enthusiastic positive response from players who enjoy having total freedom of creative decisions, Silver Dawn gives you the chance to guide heroic characters through fantastic adventures. Each move allows you to detail up to 3 pages of actions and contingencies. Man, that could not have been the most fun thing in the world. So you write in what you want to have happen, and then they do it for your character? That is a definition of slow. Oh, here comes the bestiary part. These ones were cool. Let's see which one's a new Firetail. Firetail appears as a frolicsome fey creature of living flame, which loops and darts dazzlingly in the air and is reputed to employ magic. Only the greater Firetail, or Shala, listed to the right of the slash marks in the table above, actually casts spells, but the 2 species are outwardly identical. That's a fun one. Umbre. Humanoid shaped shadows upon walls, floors, and other surfaces wherever they can find the light. The brighter the better. Umbre are not undead. Their origins and motives are obscure, though their characteristics suggest a source on the negative material plane. Umbre feed upon humanoids by striking a victim's shadow with their hands or with what appears to be shadows of weapons. Dark. Lightworm. These creatures are usually found singly. I think there's an E in that one. We'll give them credit. Singly in dungeons and similar subterranean settings. The lightworm's principal weapon is a very poisonous bite. Victims must make a saving throw versus poison. +1 on the first bite, then -2 for each additional bite. Cumulative. Youch, that thing will kill you. The bite, however, isn't the creature's most potent weapon. There is a 35% chance per round that the light worm will create a sphere of colored lights around its victim. The diameter of this hypnotic sphere is 20 feet, and the monster can cast it at a range of 120 feet. That's a fun one. I mean, cool story for like a dungeon, right? Like, you and the party are sneaking through this place. The lights are very dim. It's hard to see. Around the corner, you see this like dazzling light. You're not really sure what it is. It surrounds the corner. You get hypnotized into this giant freaking snake that's just gonna mob you. That's why I like these old books. The monsters were just interesting. So interesting. Oh, and here are the monster cards. You wouldn't know it from the artwork displayed on the following 2 pages, but appearances can be deceiving where the new Advanced Dungeons & Dragons monster cards are concerned. The cards, the latest releases in TSR's line of accessories for the AD&D game, each feature a full color painting of the creature in question, backed with a set of statistics and a description. And although those descriptions look a lot like the description already contained in the monster manual, that doesn't mean they're the same. Harold Johnson, editorial supervisor for TSR Games Division, was the director of the Monster Card Project, which is to say that it was his problem to decide how to trim down and massage the text from the book. In the process of scaling down the card, Harold and his staff also took the opportunity to make some corrections and clarifications on the material. What we're trying to say is that the text in the cards can be valuable and informative, even as someone who's memorized the monster manual. In addition to the tidbits of new or newly rephased information on already existing monsters, each of the 4 initial sets of monster cards contains 3 never-before-encountered creatures. So this is what's cool, too. Like, again, this is why I like looking through these old magazines. Like monster cards these days is nothing new. But this was the first crack at it. Like, if you look at, like, Dungeons and Dragons monster cards, like, just a Google search, you get a ton of these things. Like, look. But here are the original ones, right? Like, these are all the ones that, like, what was it, Gale Force 9 made. A bunch of other ones that are there. Hit Point Press did those cool graphical ones. But here's the original set on an eBay listing. Let's see. Yeah, like, look how sick these are. And so, like, if you check that out real quick. Oh, this poor cover is going to be so mad at me. Like, you can see what they were really trying to do. Were-Tiger, rad. The Succubus one is neat. Seawolf. Yeah, and like, this is just like a portion of the size, but it was kind of like to get you hyped on getting these cards, which is pretty cool. Examples of cards 90% of actual size. So that's these 2 that are just like a little bit smaller. And then the actual cards. I don't know, am I able to zoom in at all? Nah, it's search. I want to like zoom. How can I zoom? That Red Dragon is the classic Elmore one, I think. Barb Devil. Check out this Umber Hulk. How rad is that? And I think that's the thing, right? Like, you're sitting at a table, it's 1982. You're trying to explain these like fanciful thing, like what a displacer beast looks like. And like, that's what really makes it stand out, right? Like, then you have that art in your face. Super helpful. Got the halfling in there. Very cool. This is a weird article. The winner and still champion, Father Time, Rules for aging and ringside. So I guess this is another game. What a funny set though, man. You gotta love how like pop culture has always been a big part of D&D. And what was happening in current events led into the games that people played. Volume 2 now. And so I have Volume 1. I don't think I have Volume 2 yet. But we'll add those ones as well. Little People of the Iroquois. Taking some Native American tales. Converting to like halfling style. That's cool. It's so funny that I was just talking about like making my own, and they were selling kits for people to make their own too. Forget this hassle. Forget the hassle. This easy to build kit is ultimate gaming aid. Substitute all dice. You select any even roll from 2 to 30 and 100. Big display speeds up your game. Love it. So cool. Or Top Secret Adventures. That's the one we read last time. Interesting to see Game Masters Workshop kind of come out into this space. Like we saw that Wife Dwarf magazine ad before. Or those Fantasy Paths ads. This is the one they're having the contest for. See, these are so rad, and like these are still super useful today. You know, you find these things all there. I want to see if they still sell this. If we can find an old copy. Let's see, vintage Fantasy Paths Game Aid. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, so cool. I wanted to see if they had, there it is. I wanted to see if they had like pictures of the ones that they included. Like these are rad. Totally see using these still today. Call of Cthulhu. Is this new then? What year did Call of Cthulhu come out? Call of Cthulhu game. Let's see. 1981, so yeah, this would have been just like a year after its release, and that game was played forever. The release of Call of Cthulhu, the new role-playing game by Chaosium. There is no telling where Cthulhu or his hideous minions might appear next. Call of Cthulhu sells for $20. However, the Chaosium has tried to make it worth the money. The large box contains the basic role-playing rules, a 96-page Call of Cthulhu rulebook, and a 32-page source book for the 1920s, a folder of character sheets and large maps. That would have been super fun. And dark, right? That game is dark. I've never played it before, but everyone has talked to me about playing it. It's intense. Trying to see if there's any books that came out that were really stand out for that year. And we got Wormy Comics again. What's new? Welcome to our first anniversary strip, and to celebrate, we've got a surprise. Dixie. Again, this was really targeted at men, wasn't it? Great color ad, though. The adventure is yours. And then back ad. Yeah, so some really cool ones at number 61. Again, main cover by Susan Collins. 1982 release. So really cool things on this particular one. Lots of cool things to enjoy. If you guys like this style of how I'm showing these ones more, please let me know, but we'll keep going. I do think I have number 62, so we'll do that one next as we keep going through each one of these ones. But I'm the APDM. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.